From the late 13th century to the beginning of the 17th century, border reivers were raiders along the Anglo-Scottish border. Their heyday was in the last 100 years of their existence, during the time of Stuart's kings in Scotland and the Tudor dynasty in England. Their ranks consisted of both Scottish and English people, and they raided the entire border country without regard for their victims' nationality. The Scottish smelt weakness along the English, and they tried to take advantage of it, but the Scottish may have actually created a weakness of their own. I'm Jake Storyelli, and this is Laughs from the Past.
All right, what's up, everybody? Thank you.
All right.
That was Scottish Jake Storyelli. Where are you from? You
That
got
was,
like a Highlands accent? You from the Highlands there? Really narrowed
That
it.
was like someone who had never spoken any languages before trying to make words.
Very guttural.
So
Glasgow.
guttural.
The Border Reivers. Welcome to Laughs from the Past, Season 5. Historical backfires. On surface, on paper, the one-word summary the sentence summary, this sounds like a hilarious one. But I'm kind of just interested in it in general. Border Reivers, plague. What was going on in the UK?
You know, I haven't said this in a while, but isn't this like Dark Ages? Dark Ages always blows my mind that there's a period of history that we just say, oh, those were the Dark Ages. Those were miserable. So Dark Ages were 500 to 1500 AD. 1,000 years. Dark Ages? That's tough.
Why is it called the Dark Ages?
I think, let me see. It's the period between the fall of the Roman Empire and the beginning of the Renaissance. So there was 1,000 years where basically everyone agreed, like, we're not doing great stuff. Rome killed it. The Renaissance, yeah, that's going to be, bring back some arts and things like that. But these 1,000 years, woo.
It was coined by Francesco Petrarch. I mean, he didn't coin it in the middle of... Yeah, he coined it in, like, the middle of the Dark Ages. 1303, does that fall in the Dark Ages? 1350?
Yeah, so towards the end. They're saying 500 to 1500.
Gonna need you to Google Francesco Petrarca because his Google images are fantastic. It's just, it's him wearing, like, a wreath crown over a hood.
Oh, wow. That hat game is strong.
You know when, like, people wear hats over their hoods and you're like, wow, what are you doing? That's what he was doing with a wreath.
Yeah, it kind of... This looks like an internet meme waiting to happen. Like, there's definitely going to be a celebrity that
I think
tries
it is.
to do...
I see it available as an iPhone case, so I think it's already happened.
Well, if you're a big fan of the Dark Ages, yes. But I think, like, I'm picturing Kanye West coming out to do a show with a hoodie and a leaf crown. And it'll be like, oh, here's Kanye West, and just living in the Dark Ages like Francesco Petrarch with his leaf hoodie.
It's a great look. Everyone go Google it. Francesco Petrarch. The Border Reivers. I like Scotland. Katie and I really want to go to Scotland, but baseball season and visiting Scotland don't really match up.
Yeah, that's tough.
Because we don't want to go when it's cold. But I'd really like to go. The border. So the Scotland, if anyone doesn't know the basic geography, Scotland is above England. All part of the UK, but Scotland is above England.
North, if you will.
North, if you're looking at it in a logistical, normal way.
Okay.
Above. Edinburgh and Newcastle, they're kind of close. And then you have the Scottish Highlands, which that's where you go up there, which is cool. Right across the aisle from Northern Ireland. So the border Reivers, they weren't just Scottish. They weren't just English. They were just people who fucked around on the border.
Yeah.
They raided
it feels like Wild West / Viking vibes. Like just free reign in this area.
Yeah. Scotland and England were frequently at war during the late Middle Ages. During these wars, the livelihood of the people on the borders was devastated by the contending armies. Even when the countries were not formally at war, tension remained high, and royal authority in either or both kingdoms was often weak, particularly in remote locations. The difficulty and uncertainties of basic human survival meant that communities and or people kindred to each other would seek security through group strength and cunning. They would attempt to improve their livelihoods at their normal enemies' expense, enemies who were frequently also just trying to survive. So I'm kind of guessing the people that lived on the borders, they weren't like close to the royal and the leaders because they were so far away.
Right.
And they were like, yo, we don't really have a problem with each other. But you're making our territory the war zone.
Yeah.
So now we just kind of hate both of you collectively. So it's like Scottish versus British, and then everyone on the border is like, no, we all hate both of you. It makes sense.
Yeah.
That's how it would map out.
I'm with it. I like that analysis.
Yeah. There were other factors which promoted a predatory mode of living in the borders. A system of inheritance called gavelkind meant that estates, and particularly land, were divided equally between all sons on a man's death. Although this was considered more fair than primogenitor, no idea.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that it sounds more fair than primogenitor.
Yeah. It also meant that many people owned insufficient land to survive. Why? Because every piece of land got divided amongst all your sons. So then
right,
all
if you
your
had 4 kids, their inheritance just turned into a quarter of your property. That sounds like a bad game plan.
And then they have kids. Yeah, that is bad. So they didn't. So the border people didn't like. Why is that just significant to the border people? I don't know. Also, much of the border region is mountainous or open moorland, unsuitable for arable farming but good for grazing. Livestock was easily rustled and driven back to raiders' territory by mounted reivers who knew the country well. The raiders also often removed easy portable household goods or valuables and took prisoners for ransom. Are the border reivers attacking the people of the border? So that's different than what I thought.
I think, from what I know currently, I think border reivers are like bad guys.
They sound like cowboys in Tombstone.
It's
times.
like Wild West Vikings is what I have going on in my head.
Yeah, that's bizarrely two different things. So you just mean like they attack people?
I mean, I'm talking about where they're from. They're from European descent, and it just feels like a Wild West vibe. But yeah, I mean, they're doing bad things. Like I feel like not necessarily rape and pillage, but twisting it back to the Vikings. But yeah,
the Viking. Yeah.
So it's a good comparison. Thank you.
It's all over the map. But all right, the Vikings were a people and like a country,
right?
Not outlaws. And the Wild West were outlaws. So these seem more like outlaws.
That's why I'm mixing the two. Yeah.
Okay. The attitudes of the English and Scottish governments toward the border families alternated from indulgence and even encouragement, as these fierce families served as the first line of defense against invasion across the border, to draconian and indiscriminate punishment when their lawlessness became intolerable to the authorities. So they gave them some leniency because they were the first wall of defense.
Right.
And
okay, that starts to make more sense.
They're like, all right, we won't punish you that bad, and then they just kept doing more and more.
Yeah, basically the rulers of Britain and Scotland didn't care because they're more worried about actually going to war, and if that happens, that's the front line.
Yeah. So to reeve means raid, comes from the Middle English. and the verb reeve meaning plunder, rob, a closely related word. So
Like the Vikings. That's what I'm saying.
yeah. Yeah. It's still weird. Vikings were a people.
Right, but they're known for like rape, like not known for raping and pillaging, but the words we just said, and that's kind of what's going on here.
Yeah. The Reivers were both English and Scottish and raided both sides of the border impartially. So it's kind of cool. Like they were just like, we do whatever we want. They were outlaws.
Yeah.
They were just a bunch of criminals. They were thriving on the chaos of war.
Yeah. Or the fear of war.
Yeah. So long as they had people raided, had no powerful, so long as the people they raided had no powerful protectors and no connection to their own kin. So they're not raiding family members, and they're not raiding anyone that can hurt them. So they're just bad guys. These are just bad people.
Bad guys.
Their activities, although usually within a day's ride of the border, extended both north and south of their main haunts. English raiders were reported to have hit the outskirts of Edinburgh, and Scottish raids were known as south as Yorkshire. The largest of these was the Great Raid of 1322 during the Scottish Wars of Independence, where it reached as far as Chorley. Chorley? I'm butchering so many names.
Sure.
The main raiding season ran through the early winter months, when the nights were longest and the cattle and horses fat from having spent the summer grazing. The numbers involved in a raid might range from a few dozen to organized campaigns involving up to 3,000 riders. Holy shit.
Scary. It's a militia.
That's cool that, like, usually daylight is so needed in life, but the raiders liked darkness.
Live in the dark. Thrive in the dark.
Yeah. When raiding or riding, as it was termed, the Reivers rode light on hardy nags or ponies, renowned for the ability to pick their way over the boggy mosslands. The original dress of a shepherd's plaid was later replaced by light armor such as brigandines or jacks of plate. I'm guessing those are like the steelless plates. Metal helmets. So they went from just being like Scottish raiders in plaid to getting some steel armor. And their nickname was the Steel Bonnets.
Yeah, they went from farmers with axes to like an army.
Like, we're good at this. This is fun.
Yeah.
Hell.
We should put on some gear.
They were a startup. They were a successful startup.
They were a successful startup army. They did like a video game. Like, oh, your militia just raided this one house. You get 20 pieces of gold. Do you want to buy a helmet now? They're like, yeah. We could have helmets. Upgrade. Done.
Yeah. Like, some dude invested in them.
Ooh. I mean, not to jump ahead, but you think this would be like a Game of Thrones Littlefinger scene.
Yeah, some guy was about to get raided, and he was like, you guys are fantastic. I buy in to what you're doing here. I love what you've built. I want to make it bigger.
Here's some swords and some armor. Just don't raid our town. I like what you guys are doing. Keep it up.
Can I get in on this? We're going to have a great ROE. ROI.
Good. ROE.
ROE. Return on employment.
Return on employment.
Employment's going up. So sometimes these groups of raiders, Reivers, Jake, were like recruited to fight for the country. Sometimes they served in English or Scottish armies because they were so skilled and good at being a light cavalry. That seems like counterintuitive. Like I guess not. It's like mercenary soldiers. Like you just hire out the badasses. Wow. Reivers fighting as levied soldiers played important roles in the battles of Flodden and Solway Moss. After meeting one Reiver, Queen Elizabeth I is quoted as having said that With 10,000 men such as James the Sixth could shake any throne in Europe.
James the Sixth.
James the Sixth, yep. Old king.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Jim, it's become a popular word for us in our Yankee lifestyle, but savages. These men are savages.
They're badass.
Yeah.
These borders proved difficult to control, however. Within larger national armies, they were already in the habit of claiming any nationality or none. That's
Love
cool.
that.
Yeah. Oh, we're Scottish. No, we're none. We're none.
Not into it today.
They just played to the advantage. Yeah. No loyalty. It's cool. All right. So then, the other half of this story, Jake, that's who the Reivers are. That's an introduction. The other half of the story is the plague. Your big...
Bum.
The Dark Ages and the Black Death.
Like, if I could, if I had the Matrix machine tied up to me where I could, like, learn something really quickly without having to learn it, it would be something around, like, plagues and kind of, like, the natural, not the earth fighting back, but kind of, like, population control and stuff like that we've seen through the years. Plague is wild.
The plague's wild because it happened because I believe a fire killed all the rats. I believe there wasn't enough rats, and the rats were like anti-plague. The fleas.
Scientists now believe the plague spread too fast for rats to be culprits. Rats have long been blamed for spreading the Black Death around Europe in the 14th century. Historians have speculated that fleas on rats are responsible for an estimated 25 million plague deaths between 1347 and 1351. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to fully defend the rats, but I feel like we still don't have an answer on like what really went down with the plague. But dude, 25 million deaths back then?
Yeah, it reduced the population of like Britain from like 30 to 60% of the population died.
Like, that's insane. Like, I don't know, man. You read some stuff in a history book that you say that, and you're like, oh, yeah, I've heard about the plague. A lot of people died. Imagine a plague, like, right now in the world. How scary everything would be.
Swine flu.
Yeah.
I think, like, that stuff would do it, but we have the technology and the medicine now to, like, just...
Right, we can combat it a little bit.
Yeah. It seems to have traveled across the south in bubonic form during the summer months of 1348, before mutating into the even more frightening pneumonic form with the onset of winter. It hit London in September 1348 and spread into East Anglia, all along the coast early during the year. By spring 1349, it was ravaging Wales and the Midlands. So Wales is kind of south of Britain, for those who don't know the map of the UK.
I thought you were talking about the actual animal for a second.
Oh wow!
It's ravaging Wales.
Who knows? They could have been. They could have been affected.
Yeah.
It had made the leap across the Irish Sea and had penetrated the north. The Scots were quick to take advantage of their English neighbors' discomfort, raiding Durham in 1349. So that's where we're getting at. Here's the backfire.
Yeah.
Let me find it. Sometimes it came by road. This is someone's words from 1349. That's so crazy to me. One graphic testimony can be found at St. Mary's, Ashwell, Hertfordshire, where an anonymous hand was carved a harrowing inscription for the year 1349. 1349, this is someone carved. Isn't that bizarre?
Yes.
Wretched, terrible, destructive year. The remnants of the people alone remain. Sometimes it came by road, passing from village to village. Sometimes by river, as in the East Midlands, or by ship from the Low Countries or from other infected areas. On the villes of Bishop and Worcester's estates in the West Midlands, the death rates ranged between 19% of manorial tenants and Hartlebury and Hanbury to no less than 80% at Aston. It is very difficult for us to imagine the impact of the plague on these small rural communities where a village might have no more than 400 or 500 inhabitants. Few settlements were totally depopulated, but in most others, whole families must have been wiped out, and a few can have been spared some loss, since the plague killed indiscriminately, striking at rich and poor alike. Wow.
Isn't that kind of nuts? Not to get crazy heavy, but like, dude, what if we had, one dumb relative who like wasn't scared by the plague and like went to hang out with one of their buddies who got the plague, and then they got it, killed their whole family, never exist.
Do you hate that person now forever?
I'm happy with them because they didn't do that.
But what if you're a family member and like the one guy brings the plague, you gotta hate that guy ruined everything.
Oh yeah, you were the black sheep of the family until everyone died. Then it was over.
Yeah. All right, so they say how the plague went to Scotland. Are you ready?
Ready.
In Durham, the bishop's rolls record that no tenant came from west, thickly because they are all dead. The combination of plague and fear of a Scottish invasion caused such unrest with Durham itself that there were riots on the streets. These fears seem well-founded, for the Scots were quick to take advantage of their English neighbors' distress, though they paid a terrible price for their opportunism. It's such a funny backfire. That whole country's dying from a disease. Yeah. Let's get them while they're weak.
I get the logic. I really do. But
someone had to what if we get it?
No.
Someone had to, Jake.
Only Brits get that disease.
Wow, you think so?
That was the loudest voice in the room that unfortunately prevailed, yes.
Damn, man. So it says, the Scots, hearing of the cruel plague of the English, declared that it had befallen them through the revenging hand of God, and they took to swearing by the foul death of England, or so the common report resounded in the ears of the English. And thus the Scots, believing that the English were overwhelmed by the terrible vengeance of God, gathered in the forest of Selkirk with the intention of invading the whole realm of England. The fierce mortality came upon them, and the sudden cruelty of the monstrous death winnowed the Scots. Within a short pace of time, around 5,000 of them had died, and the rest, weak and strong alike, decided to retreat to their own country. I mean, if you're Scotland, you fucking gotta be so mad at the border Reivers.
We blew it.
The retreating army and its baggage carried the plague home with them in autumn 1349. It seems to have been checked by the Scottish winter, but broke out with renewed virulence. Whoa, love new words. In the spring of 1350. In 1350, there was a great pestilence and mortality of men in the kingdom of Scotland, and this pestilence also raged for many years before and after in various parts of the world. So great a plague has never been heard of from the beginning of the world to the present day, or been recorded in books. For this plague vented its spite so thoroughly that fully a third of the human race was killed. At God's command, moreover, the damage was done by an extraordinary and novel form of death. Those who fell sick of a kind of gross swelling of the flesh lasted for barely 2 days. This sickness befell people everywhere, but especially the middling and lower classes, rarely the great. It generated such horror that children did not dare to visit their dying parents, nor parents their children, but fled for fear of contagion, as if leprosy or a serpent. So all this was happening in England already. They were dying at an alarming rate, and the English people wouldn't even go look at their dead kids or their dead parents for fear that it would spread. And the Scottish couldn't get the intelligence on that?
Trying to capitalize. They weren't thinking. They were not thinking about the risk.
Heck. Whoa, everyone ran away from this town. Let's go invade it.
It's ours now. This is free money.
You got to think there was a million warning signs. Don't go there.
That was one of the first cases of too good to be true.
Yeah. God's killing all of England. It is our time.
This is perfect.
Then everyone's dead. 5,000 of your own troops die. You have this terrible sickness, and where do you go? Back home to give it to your friends and family.
Yeah.
What would you do? Like, do you have to, in that situation, say, yo, we can't go back home? Like, let's save Scotland from this? It's going to get there anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the noble captain going down with the ship kind of thing to do, but yeah, I mean, it was going to get anywhere. Yeah, and I think people, I don't want to say selfish, but I don't know, spend your dying plague weeks with your friends and family and give it to them, I guess.
Yeah. So this kind of, the Reivers, how do you say it? Border Reivers,
right?
The Border Reivers kind of went out. They weren't even around anymore because they got the plague.
Yeah, they got plagued.
They thought their enemy was England or whoever. Their enemy was the plague.
Plague's scary. Still a little freaked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just seems like you get bloated, then you die. Get real hot.
Yeah. Which, I don't know. Mostly the end part that worries me. I texted you a link. I don't know if you saw that come through. It's a CDC article on the history of the plague, and the only thing you need to look at is there's a person wearing a plague mask, and you need to see it.
That's a bird.
You'd think that's a bird.
It's a bird beak, a hat, and goggles, walking holding a stick.
It looks like something out of a scary movie.
Yeah, that can't be real. That looks like when they dressed Dee up as a bird in Always Sunny.
Apparently that was the go-to plague mask.
Damn. Oh, we got a ballad. I found a ballad, a plague ballad. Dude, have you ever seen old Irish or Scottish like ballads? They're like a million verses. There's no way they remembered all this.
No. They're all drunk.
Oh, hey, ye no heard of the Faust. Is this not in English? Okay, the next verse is in English. Had Willie had but 20 men as stout as he, Faust Souter would never kin intend. We 80 in his company. They bound his legs beneath the steed. They tied his hands behind his back. They guarded him 5 some on either side. And they led... I can't find the rhythm of this.
Yeah.
Wow. This verse seems cool. My hands are tied, but my tongue is free. And woe will dare this dead avow. Fuck, dude. I wish it was all in English. Is that technically English?
Asking the wrong guy.
Where do you rank this backfire? I think this is a bad one.
This is up there. This is legit because you can fully see the thought process and how it lines up for a total backfire, but you could see being blinded by it by the time. Like, just hating the enemy so much that you think there's this window of opportunity that you're ignoring blatant red flags about the whole situation, and it blows up in your face big time.
They trying to compare this to some previous episodes. The Genghis Khan one. Genghis Khan wanted to trade with that dude. Maybe it would have worked for 2 years, but he's fucked either way, we said.
Pretty much. Genghis Khan was he was running a powerful operation at the time.
Now, if the Scottish were incredibly smart, they closed the border. They're like, we don't want none of that. And they closed the border. That's too much foresight, though. Like, I don't expect
too much foresight.
In 1300s, I don't expect all that.
I mean, the plague is still going to get you. Like, even if you have a nobody in policy, like, it's someone's going to smuggle someone in, or someone's going to get some goods from the outside world, you're going to get the plague.
Okay. So then do you think that this was like whatever then? It was a lose-lose situation?
I think it was a lose situation. I mean, they brought the situation to themselves.
Yeah, I don't know. Still seems mighty dumb to me to go to the place where everyone's dying of a disease.
Saw an opportunity. Time to strike.
I wonder how much of that is like a 21st century brain.
Yeah.
Like if you went back to even like 1500s, they'd be like, contagious? What? Like,
right.
We won't get it. We have God on our side.
Yeah. No, I pray.
Scientific revolution, I guess, is when that like probably changed.
It's pretty big. It's a big one.
And science still gets kind of scoffed at.
Like I mean, I'm seeing the thought process, man. We don't like them. They're weak. Let's attack now before they get cured and strong again. Oh, we're dead.
Dead. Scientific revolution didn't come for like 400 more years, so it's tough times. The Reivers have statues in Scotland in some places, which it seems weird. It seems like they were bad people. It didn't seem like a Robin Hood situation where they're stealing from the rich, giving to the poor. It seemed very much like they were stealing from the poor.
Yeah, I know you don't want me to say cowboy Vikings again, but yeah.
Cowboys. Just say cowboys.
Yeah, but the pillage part, that's very Viking-esque.
Yes, but they would go raid like yes. But these were outlaws.
Yeah.
Not
who pillaged.
Not a country going to war with other countries.
Correct.
Yeah. Like the fact that they're doing it in their own land is very different than the Vikings. That's what's tripping me out.
Okay. That's the cowboy part of them.
That's the cowboy part of them.
Yeah.
Them outlaws. It's like, but even the outlaws like Jesse James, he wasn't stealing from his own people. He was stealing from the government and then giving it back to his own people.
They didn't have an own people. I think that's one of their kind of identifying traits we learned.
Yes, they felt like they didn't like the government on either side. They just said, fuck you. I like that part.
They were Reivers, man.
Like, I like people on the border. The fight's happening on the border. And the people on the border in Scotland and England both looked at each other and like, we like you, though. Like, we trade all the time. Like, what are these guys talking about? Fuck them. That's kind of a fun dynamic.
I don't have a king. My only alliance is with myself and my family.
Clan. Say clan.
My clan.
Yeah. Nice. Let's rob the poor. But see, like, it would make sense if then the Border Reivers turned around and robbed or fucked like the British nobility or Scottish nobility or like the armies or government, but they didn't. They just robbed themselves. They just robbed the people that were in the town.
They just kind of stayed on the outskirts. They didn't want to really get involved in like actually fight an army or anything like that.
Yeah. And then they become like mercenary armies and like army for hire. Very weird path, the Reivers. And now they have statues of themselves in Scotland. They're romanticized by writers. It's very, very bizarre to me.
Well, I guess you could romanticize that a few different ways because, like you're saying, there are some kind of noble concepts around the Reivers, and then there's some awful stuff, too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's still some families with the names of Reivers in Scotland. I want to go to Scotland so bad. Seems like a cool place. All right, you got anything else, Jake? Rank this. Terrible backfire? I think you're falling into, I would have done it.
I get it, which I think makes it a good backfire. Like, I see the logic. Like, the NBA, ABA thing, I mean, everything kind of worked out for everyone there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else.
The rats, we got it. He wanted to bring sewage to Hanoi.
Yeah, like there was good intentions there. I think the part that sucks is the backfire. I mean, ends up on being on Hanoi or whatever, and what they just bailed. They were like, "We screwed up, we're gone."
Yeah.
This is these people paid for their mistake. That's a backfire.
They died, and then they brought their death to their families. That's such a bad backfire.
It's bad. That's a bad.
Oh, what a bunch of idiots. All right, we're out. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week with, it's just called Poor Business. Oh, I know what that is. That's a fun one. We were both excited for that one. Cool. We will see you next Tuesday. Thank you guys for listening. Rate, subscribe, review, all that nonsense. See you later.